Should I choose this reverb? This one? Maybe that one. How to choose the right reverb for vocals? Is there a specific method to follow in every mix? Can you put in place techniques to find the right reverb for your vocals every time? The answer is
yes, definitely!
What's up YouTube, it's IDs, I hope you're doing great! Today in this video I'm gonna talk about all the steps you need to go through if you want to choose the right reverb on your vocals every time. But before we start, please make sure you hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss my next videos on music production. And also, if you want to learn the basics of vocal mixing, then you have to check out the link in the description to receive a free ebook that talks about the basics of vocal mixing in the field of pop and hip-hop music. Okay, let's get started. There are actually two things you have to know perfectly well before even thinking about the step-by-step process. The first one, so I would say the first fundamental, is to know each type of reverb that exists in the field of audio nowadays, and especially how they sound. What are their typical color, tone, density, or decay time, for example. The 5 types of reverb that you can find nowadays are hall, plate, room, spring, and chamber. I don't want to talk too much about this topic because I talk about it way more deeply in another video that you can find right here, but it's really essential to know each type of reverb if you want to make sure to choose the right reverb for your vocals every time. And the second fundamental is to know all the classic parameters of a reverb. This will help you adjust your reverb to make it sound exactly how you hear it in your head. The usual parameters of a reverb are the decay time, so the time it takes for the reverb from its very first reflections to reach silence, the pre-delay, which is the time between the direct source and the first reflections of the reverb. Always keep in mind that the longer the pre-delay, the closer the direct source will appear. Then we have the early reflections, which represent, as its name indicates, the very first waves of the reverb. Then we have the damping. Damping is a more specific parameter that allows to reduce the reverb time in the higher frequencies. The goal is to make the reverb more natural and less digital. Another usual parameter is the diffusion. Diffusion determines how close the reflections are to each other. In other words, it gives an indication of the density of the reverb. Today, in many reverb plugins, you can also find an EQ to simply shape the color and tone of your reverb. And finally, we have the parameter mix or dry wet, which is an essential one as it will set the balance between the direct source and the wet signal. You will probably find many other parameters in your reverb plugins, but if you know well these ones and know how they influence your reverb, you have a very good starting point.
Yeah, baby! Yeah.
So to quickly summarize what I've said so far, try to make sure you know the 5 types of reverb and how they usually sound, and try to understand perfectly how each usual parameter can influence your reverb. Now that you know that, we can dive into the step-by-step process to choose the right reverb for your vocals every time. Let's go. Okay, step number 1. Identify the rhythm of the vocals. By instinct, you might prioritize the rhythm and BPM of the instrumental, but if you think that way, you will always go in the wrong direction, because very often you can find slow vocals on fast tempo instrumentals, as well as you can find super fast vocals that sit on a slow instrumental, as it is sometimes the case in rap music, for example. And as the goal here is to add reverb on your vocals, they will be the most important element in our reverb choice. Generally speaking, for fast-flowing vocals, you should generally use short reverbs, like room reverbs or maybe short plates, for example. This way, you will automatically emphasize the precision of the syllables while maintaining a certain depth within the song. Whatever reverb you choose, you should always prioritize the understanding of all syllables, especially with fast rhythms.
You don't want to lay up in the prison predicament, gonna wait just.
And by the way, this is one of the main reasons why you will rarely find super airy long reverbs in rap music. And as you can understand, slower vocals are most suitable for longer, more airy reverbs such as hall reverbs or chamber reverbs, for example, because the reverb that will appear at the same time as the vocals won't be an obstacle to understanding slower, longer syllables. So to make a long story short, fast vocals, short reverb, slow vocals, longer reverbs. The step number 2 will be to identify the overall mood of the song. Let's not forget that we are doing mixing, which means that we need to put the vocals and the instrumental in the same universe. People don't want to hear vocals on a beat. They want to listen to a song that sounds unified and cohesive. But in the other hand, in pop and hip-hop music, vocals have to be in the forefront of the mix. That's the most essential rule in these genres. So you will need to find the balance between detaching the vocals from the rest and putting them slightly forward. So that being said, at this stage of the process, you need to identify what's the mood of the song. Try to put words, feeling, and emotions on what you're hearing. And it's gonna help you say, okay, I need this kind of reverb with my vocals, and I got this specific mood I need to enhance with my reverb. How can I bring them together to build this unified whole? Okay, for step 3, you can take a step back from the theory and let your creative mind take over. Because at this stage, you should try to imagine how you hear the reverb. And once again, the best thing to do is to put into words what you imagine. I know it can be super annoying to take the time to just put emotions into words, but I can promise you this will help you choose and shape your reverb exactly the way you want it. These words might be, for example, wide or narrow, bright or muffled, big or small, dense or airy, and many other words that could describe the reverb you're looking for. You can screenshot this if needed, but at this stage, it's really your creative mind that you need to listen to. Having gone through these 3 steps, you can now put them together to choose the reverb you need. So the rhythm of the vocals, the mood of the song, and the way you hear the reverb in your mind. Put these 3 elements together and you can move on to the final step, which is to choose a reverb plugin and adjust the parameters. Whether you use stock plugins or paid plugins, the principle is the same. First, you will choose the type of reverb you need based on all the information you've gathered so far. Now it's up to you to proceed as you wish to obtain the reverb you imagined, but I advise you to always start from a preset provided by the manufacturer. Presets are often a very good starting point for getting the exact reverb you're looking for. And now please don't stop at simply adding a reverb and leaving it as it is. 99% of the time, if not always, you have to tweak the reverb parameters to get the exact sound you want to get. At the very least, take the time to tweak the main parameters I mentioned at the start of this video, as they can completely change the way your reverb sounds. Okay, now I'm going to adjust the parameters of my reverb. Okay, the song I take as an example here is called 10 of 10 from Dave ID and Barker Bain. Super talented artist from Belgium. If you want to listen to the song or download it, I put a link in the description. Okay, let's listen to it completely flat, with no reverb. Was losing the time into Tonya. It's not gonna work, we going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Okay, here I know I'll go for a whole reverb because I definitely need something pretty long, airy, and something bright, which are things that a whole reverb will give me instantly. So let's activate the send and this vintage verb that is in my template, and let's take a bright whole. Okay, let's hear how this reverb sounds. Was losing the time into Tonya. It's not gonna work, we going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Want me, don't want me. Okay, let's tweak the parameters now. Was losing the time into Tonya. It's not gonna work, we going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Want me, don't want me, you know I won't be no plan B. No, I'm falling again, just out here killing the game. No, I wanna be only myself, can't do it just like this. You know that you're missing, don't come back again. Baby, baby, that's on ya. This time you're getting on my love. Don't across the board, I am. So baby, baby, that's on ya. Let's hear the final results. Sorry, you was losing the time into Tonya. It's not gonna work, we going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Want me, don't want me.
getting on my love. Don't across the board, I am. So baby, baby, that's on ya.
You might have seen that when I was playing the mix, I was also moving the send level to the reverb at the end of each phrase. It is super important to do that in your own mixes to make them more lively. So when you choose your reverb and you're satisfied of it, always take the time to automate it. Just one last thing before we conclude this video. You may have seen that I don't use my reverb as an insert, but in an auxiliary. If you want to learn more about auxiliaries, buses and sends and how to use them like a pro, you can click on the link right here. That is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching all the way through. Before we end up this video, please make sure you drop your like and subscribe to this channel. If you have any questions about reverb or anything in the field of music production, please post them in the comments and I will be very happy to answer them as soon as I can. Again, thank you for watching. See you soon. Bye bye.